We are going to extract the ultimate blueprint for how this massive financial leviathan is adopting AI and figure out what this pivot means for the future of human labor, corporate survival, and frankly, your own personal finances.
And to really grasp the stakes here, we have to look way beyond the surface level of, a bank just adopting a shiny new software tool or throwing some generic chatbot onto a desktop.
Right, this isn't just an IT update.
Not at all. We're analyzing a fundamental, ground-up restructuring of enterprise operations and human capital. This is an existential pivot for these legacy institutions, and it forces us to rethink how massive organizations function on a cellular level.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because this lecture kicks off with some wildly optimistic predictions from JPMorgan CEO Jamie Dimon. And I mean wild.
He definitely doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't. He is on record predicting that AI is going to cure diseases that have afflicted humanity for generations, and that within the next 20 to 40 years, the developed world will be enjoying a 3.5-day work week.
Which paints quite a picture of this impending technological utopia.
It really does.
But to understand why a Wall Street executive is making those kinds of grand, sweeping societal predictions, we have to look at the historical precedent he uses to justify all that optimism.
Okay, lay it on me.
Let's rewind the clock to the year 1900. At that time, the global population had just crossed the 1 billion mark. And in 1900, roughly 70% of all human labor was dedicated solely to agriculture.
Wait, 70%?
70%. Now, fast forward to today, the year 2026. We now have a population of 8 billion people, yet agriculture requires only about 5% of our global labor force.
That is just a staggering shift. I mean, we went from 70% of humanity just trying to physically pull enough calories out of the dirt to survive down to 5%, and we're feeding 8 times as many people.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism that made that shift possible. Because it wasn't that humans suddenly started working faster.
Right. We didn't just get better at digging.
No, it was the introduction of automation.
Yeah.
The tractor, chemical fertilizers, and industrial mechanization. These tools completely decoupled human physical effort from agricultural output.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and that decoupling freed up massive swaths of the human population to go build the modern industrialized world. Dimon is framing the AI revolution as the exact same kind of paradigm-shifting automation.
Like a massive societal software update.
Precisely. Except this time, we are decoupling human cognitive effort from knowledge work.
But wait, I mean, you can't just flip a switch on the global economy without breaking things. Going from 70% to 5% agricultural labor took, what, well over a century of gradual urbanization?
It took a long time, yes.
And Dimon is talking about a massive shift in cognitive labor within 20 to 40 years. What happens to the millions of people doing that work today? You can't just tell a mid-level accountant to go invent a new industry by next Tuesday.
That is the ultimate friction point of this entire transition.
Yeah.
And Dimon himself actually acknowledges the danger of moving too fast with a very specific thought exercise that the professor mentions in the lecture.
Okay, what's the exercise?
Well, he looks at the roughly 2 million commercial truckers currently working in the United States. He argues that if someone were to magically invent a button today that could instantly replace all of those human drivers with autonomous AI trucks.
Trucks that are probably cheaper and safer, right?
Empirically cheaper, faster, safer, and they produce less carbon. But Dimon argues that society actually should not press that button.
Wait, a Wall Street CEO is arguing against immediate cost-cutting and efficiency. That seems completely counterintuitive to the whole banking mindset.
It does, until you factor in the systemic risk. The societal shock of putting 2 million middle-class earners out of work overnight would send catastrophic ripples through the wider economy.
Oh, right, because they stop buying things.
Exactly. The resulting drop in consumer spending and the spike in loan defaults would far outweigh any of the efficiency gains from the trucks. The transition has to be managed.
So what's the plan then?
Well, the lecture highlights several proposed shock absorbers, things like massive subsidized retraining efforts, transitional income assistance, early retirement packages for older workers, and intentional relocation programs.
That sounds incredibly expensive.
It is. Dimon argues that it will require deep structural collaboration between government and business to intentionally throttle the speed of the transition, just to ensure society has the buffer time required to adjust.
Well, It's pretty easy for a CEO to preach patience and government collaboration for the trucking industry. But when you look at JP Morgan's own internal operations, that patience totally
They
vanishes.
are definitely stepping on the gas internally.
They really are. And here's where it gets really interesting. The lecture details a look inside JP Morgan's LLM suite.
Right, their massive internal AI portal.
Yeah, it essentially connects the bank's highly secure data with large language models from companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. And the source details this demonstration where they prompt the AI to act like an investment banker and create a pitch book for NVIDIA.
Ah, yes, the infamous 30-second pitch book.
Yes. But wait, how does it actually do that? Because, I'm imagining a junior banker pulling an all-nighter, drinking terrible coffee, grinding through SEC filings, formatting PowerPoint slides, checking footnotes. Is the AI just like scraping Wikipedia and throwing it into a template?
Not at all, and that's exactly why the LLM suite is so crucial. It's not scraping the public internet. It's securely ingesting the bank's own proprietary, historically successful pitch decks.
Oh, so it's learning from the best stuff they already have.
Exactly. It's using real-time market data feeds and private financial models. The AI understands the specific narrative arc of a JP Morgan pitch.
That's wild.
It pulls the verified data, structures the financial arguments, formats the charts to the company's exact brand standards, and generates a credible, highly detailed draft in 30 seconds.
Which brings us back to JP Morgan's primary stated goal for all this technology, the elimination of what they actually call no joy work.
I think that phrasing really captures the reality of certain entry-level knowledge jobs. The lecture draws a parallel to old assembly line factories.
How so?
Well, imagine sitting in a car plant, welding the exact same joint on the exact same piece of metal 8 hours a day. It's redundant, soul-crushing labor.
Right.
A significant portion of entry-level banking manually copying data from a PDF into an Excel model, checking font sizes on a slide deck, or pulling routine weekly compliance reports is just the modern cognitive equivalent of that assembly line welding.
So the goal is to automate the drudgery so humans can actually focus on high-level strategy and complex problem solving.
Precisely.
I mean, removing no joy work sounds incredibly noble on paper, like you're freeing the digital factory workers. But let's be real, if a machine can do an all-nighter's worth of formatting and data scrubbing in 30 seconds, doesn't this just mean mass layoffs for young bankers?
It's a fair question.
Are the banks really just going to let these juniors go home at 5 p.m. to rest? Or are they going to look at the budget and say, well, great, we don't need a team of 5 anymore?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of corporate finance, it absolutely points to a structural reduction in entry-level headcount. The lecture breaks down how investment banks have traditionally operated on a very predictable pyramid structure.
Okay, what does that look like?
Historically, that ratio has been about 6 junior bankers to every 1 senior banker or managing director. But the new AI-empowered model they are projecting could collapse that ratio down to 4 to 1.
Wow, so going from 6 juniors to 4, that is a massive contraction in the entry-level job market.
It is, but the structural changes go even deeper than just cutting the number of jobs. It fundamentally changes the geography of those jobs as well.
What do you mean?
Well, under the old model, a bank might have to pay all 6 of those junior bankers premium salaries to live and work in an incredibly expensive financial hub like New York or London.
Right, because they need to be in the office.
Exactly. But under the new model, you only need 4. And of those 4, maybe only 2 actually need to be physically in New York for client meetings. You could have 1 junior banker in Buenos Aires and 1 in India.
Okay, I understand cutting the headcount, but how does having a junior banker in Buenos Aires and one in India actually work in high-stakes finance? Doesn't the, time zone lag and the potential language barrier completely kill the 30-second efficiency they just built with the AI?
You would think so, but that's the genius of integrating the AI into the workflow itself. The AI acts as the ultimate universal translator and continuous workflow manager.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. If the banker in New York logs off at 8 p.m., they don't have to spend an hour briefing the team in India on a messy email chain. The AI summarizes the exact state of the financial model, translates the strategic goals into the local language, flags the specific tasks needed by morning, and just hands the project over seamlessly.
That is incredibly efficient.
Very. By combining the reduced headcount with this geographically distributed AI-managed workflow, investment banks are looking at structurally slashing their junior banking costs by 20 to 30%.
That's a staggering mismatch when you zoom out. But it raises a huge question for me. JPMorganChase is already wildly successful, right? They are building a massive $3 billion new headquarters in New York.
They're definitely not hurting for cash.
Right. So if you're the undisputed king of the hill, why risk an avalanche? Why upend your own incredibly profitable business model so aggressively?
Because the hill itself is shifting underneath them.
Right.
And they're facing an existential threat from completely outside their traditional sphere of competitors.
Who are they scared of?
The lecture provides a brilliant contrast to illustrate this threat. Let's look at their engineering footprint. Globally, JP Morgan employs roughly 40,000 engineers and programmers to maintain their systems.
40,000. That's like the population of a small city just writing code and managing servers for one bank.
Now, contrast that massive footprint with Ant Group. Ant Group is a Chinese digital payment platform, originally a spin-off from Alibaba. They handle digital transactions, similar to PayPal, but on an exponentially larger scale.
Okay, how big are we talking?
Ant Group operates a platform with 750 million active customers, and they run that entire operation with a total workforce of only 2,000 employees.
Wait, what?
2,000 employees.
That's hard to process. 2,000 employees managing the finances of almost a billion customers.
Yes, they aren't bogged down by traditional banking silos. They are a pure, unified technology platform operating with incredible lean efficiency.
Geez. How does a legacy institution with 40,000 engineers even begin to defend its market share against a company operating that lean? It's like a massive brick-and-mortar dreadnought, just this huge battleship covered in heavy armor, and thousands of sailors trying to outmaneuver a fleet of autonomous AI-powered speedboats.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
And the legacy bank's primary defense, and honestly, the reason they actually need those 40,000 engineers right now is their progression along a massive technological maturity curve.
Meaning they've been building up to this.
Exactly. You don't just plug ChatGPT into a 90-year-old bank and call it a day. The lecture traces this evolution beautifully. Think back to the days of literal paper ledgers, people manually writing numbers in giant books.
Sure.
The first revolution was moving to electronic files. Then came the invention of the relational database and the SQL select statement.
Right, which finally allowed people to query and summarize vast amounts of data without reading it line by line.
Exactly. That foundational plumbing had to be built first. Then came traditional machine learning, which banks have been using for over a decade. Machine learning is great for predicting patterns like, spotting a fraudulent credit card swipe in milliseconds based on past behavior.
Right, we've all gotten those fraud alert texts.
Right. But only now, standing on top of all those previous layers, the databases and the predictive models, can they attempt generative AI adoption at scale.
Because generative AI doesn't just predict a pattern, it synthesizes new content, like that 30-second pitch book.
Exactly.
So the battleship's defense is that they've spent a century gathering the data and building the complex internal plumbing required to actually make the new AI useful and secure.
That's the strategy. And they're investing nearly $1 billion into their AI programs to fortify it. They've built a secure hybrid cloud infrastructure. They've implemented a data mesh architecture.
Wait, pause there. Data mesh. Is that just slick corporate jargon for a really big server, or does that actually mean something specific for the AI?
It means something very specific and crucial. Historically, companies dumped all their information into one massive data lake.
Which sounds messy.
It is messy, and data gets tangled. A data mesh decentralizes that. It treats data like individual, highly secure products managed by specific domains. So the mortgage department's data is governed entirely separately from the wealth management data.
Oh, okay. I see.
When the AI needs to pull information, the data mesh ensures it only accesses the specific verified data it has explicit permission to see, which prevents sensitive client information from mingling or leaking across departments.
Right. So that makes sense. You don't want the AI accidentally pulling a client's private medical payment history when it's just trying to generate a generic market report.
Precisely. And that leads to their most important defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Because they operate in a highly regulated industry where a single mistake can result in billions of dollars in federal fines, they have developed what they call 12-level safety guardrails.
I'm assuming this is to stop the AI from hallucinating. I mean, if a public chatbot hallucinates a fake historical fact, it's just a funny screenshot on social media. But if a banking AI hallucinates a fake financial trend and advises a client to make a disastrous trade,
that's a reputational catastrophe.
Yeah, a company-ending event.
And that's exactly why these guardrails aren't just one simple filter. The lecture breaks down how robust this really is. Layer 1 might simply check the user's security clearance. Layer 5 might be an anonymizer that strips out all personally identifiable information names, account numbers before the prompt ever even reaches the large language model.
Oh, wow. So the AI never even sees who it's analyzing.
Exactly. And the final layers are even more rigorous. Layer 12 might use a completely separate deterministic calculator to double-check the AI's math.
Because LLMs are basically advanced text predictors, right? They are notoriously bad at actual arithmetic.
Exactly. The guardrails catch the AI's output, run the numbers through a traditional calculator, and only approve the output if the math is flawless.
Yeah.
The legacy banks have the capital and the risk management experience to build those 12 layers of defense. The lean startups might have the speed, but the legacy banks are betting that in the world of high finance, security backed by $1 billion infrastructure will ultimately win out.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener? We've talked about macroeconomic shifts, commercial trucking, junior bankers working across time zones, and, data mesh architectures. But how does an AI-powered bank actually change your daily life? How does this multi-billion-dollar infrastructure show up on your smartphone?
This raises an important question about the fundamental shift from reactive banking to proactive banking. The lecture gives us a window into this by sharing a detail about Jamie Dimon's personal routine.
Oh, yeah, this was wild.
Dimon famously wakes up at 4:30 in the morning every single day. And he doesn't do it just to hit the gym. He does it to aggressively read global newspapers, financial reports, and media. He is manually acting as a human data aggregator to anticipate market movements before the business day even begins.
He's looking for the butterfly flapping its wings in Tokyo so he can predict the storm in New York.
Exactly. Now imagine if you had your own personal Jamie Dimon working for you 24/7. The source material outlines JP Morgan's vision for proactive and anticipatory client advice. Historically, your banking app is entirely reactive. You log in, you look at your balance, you see a list of things you already bought.
Right, it's essentially just a digital receipt. It tells you the damage after the fact.
But an AI agent flips that model. Instead of just showing you a static balance, your banking app's AI concierge analyzes your historical cash flows, your subscription renewals, and upcoming utility bills.
Okay, so it sees the future, basically.
In a way, it could send you a proactive warning, something like, based on your spending patterns, you currently have $10 left in disposable income, but my models project you will need to spend $154 on automated bills before the end of the month. Would you like me to transfer funds from savings to avoid an overdraft fee?
That's incredible. It's moving from a tool that tells you what happened yesterday to an autonomous agent that warns you about what's going to happen next week.
And on a larger wealth management scale, it could analyze global news, detect an impending market downturn, and proactively warn you to move your retirement investments to a more conservative portfolio before a crash even happens.
We have definitely covered some serious ground today. We started by looking at how AI isn't just a software update, it is a structural revolution. We explored the mechanics of eliminating no-joy work, the collapse of the traditional junior to senior banker ratio, and how AI workflow managers are allowing legacy banks to globalize high-end financial labor.
We also dissected the massive defense mechanisms required for a giant like JP Morgan to survive this transition. They're spending billions to build out data mesh architectures and 12-level safety guardrails, basically betting that their maturity and security will protect them from the highly efficient tech startups that are operating with a fraction of the headcount. Yep. And ultimately, the end game is delivering proactive, anticipatory, agent-driven finance to the individual consumer.
We are promised this frictionless future where an AI concierge perfectly anticipates our financial needs, yet we still live in a physical reality where a single missing human can cause an entire system to grind to a halt.
And that tension leaves us with one final, incredibly provocative thought to chew on. A scenario that builds on everything we've discussed today. We talked about JP Morgan's goal of giving every client an AI concierge that can flawlessly anticipate a market downturn and proactively advise them to move their money to safety.
Right, the 4:30 a.m. Jamie Dimon agent working for millions of everyday people.
Exactly. But consider the macro implications of that at scale. What happens to the global economy when millions of individual AI agents all receive the exact same market warning, process the data at the exact same time, and try to sell their clients' assets at the exact same microsecond?
Oh, wow, they would all hit the exit door simultaneously.
It's the ultimate paradox of this technology. Will these highly intelligent AI agents stabilize the markets by removing human emotion and panic? Or will they trigger a new, incomprehensibly fast kind of automated flash crash that human regulators won't even have time to perceive?
That is a brilliant question to chew on. Will the AI save the market or break it faster than we can even comprehend? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.